Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's Time for Coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Dov Baron. So I have 3 final Time for Coffee questions for you. The first one is, what is the best career advice you've ever gotten?
So the best career advice I ever got was in 1989. Very early 1989, I think like January or February. I arrived in Canada in 1988 from Australia. And in early 1989, a friend of mine said to me, you got to come see this guy. I think you'll really like him. And I was like, what's his name? He goes, his name's Tony Robbins. I'm like, who the hell's Tony Robbins? I've never heard of him. He goes, oh, he's really good. Okay. So I go to Seattle with them to see this guy, and I don't know him from a bar of soap. There's about 200 people in the room. Of course, that would be a very intimate event today. And at the end, Tony says, if you'd like to stay behind, if you've got a question for me, I'm willing to answer. He was very gracious and did that. And people lined up to speak to Tony, and I made sure I was last because I didn't want to be interrupted. I didn't want to feel rushed. So I waited and I waited and I waited. And eventually I got to speak to Tony, and he said to me, how was the event for you? And I said, spectacular. He goes, and a big smile. And he said, how do you feel? And I said, pissed off. And he was very gracious, and he smiled and he said, that's an interesting answer. Tell me why. And I said, because I'm at least as good as you are. And I'm standing here in a secondhand jacket. And you made 11 million last year. Now, we all know that 11 million would be a very bad year for Tony today. And he just smiled at me and he said, who's on your team? And I said, what? He said, who's on your team? I said, I haven't played soccer since I was a kid. Because that's not what I'm talking about. I said, then I don't know what you mean. And he said, do you see that brochure you're holding in your hand? I said, yeah. He said, did I print it? I said, probably not. He goes, do you think I designed it? I said, maybe. He goes, I didn't. Oh, okay. He goes, the chairs you sit in, do you think I put them out? I said, of course not. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, did I collect your ticket coming in? I said, no. He said, well, who did? And I said, I don't know. He goes, my team. He goes, you will never make it until you have a team. Now, you should know, I'm a nice guy, but I'm not so smart sometimes. Sometimes I can be a little slow. It took me about 5 years to learn that lesson. Right? And a fall, So the thing I'm trying to have you grasp is that the best lesson I was given is you will never do it alone. Remember, I was that 7-year-old. I learned to do it on my own. So I thought that was how life worked. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. That is not how life works. You need a team. There is no such thing as the self-made man, woman. Doesn't exist. Get a team. Find people who can support you in growing your idea and what it is you need. Spend the money on having the people who can help you. Yes, do your due diligence because there's some clowns out there, but find the right person who can really help you, because when you do, everything transforms.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.